Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, good morning. Thank you for registering and taking your time to attend the 5th International Conference on European Company Law and Corporate Governance under this year's topic, Corporate Purpose in the Digital Era, towards revisiting the director's duties and liabilities. This year, the conference again, unfortunately, I would say takes place remotely. Why remotely? Because remote convening was once again seen as the most practical solution to organize the conference and accomplish its scientific mission due to the uncertainties caused by partial travel disruptions and current geopolitical tensions. The conference comes at a time of numerous regulatory accomplishments in the area of European Union company law and corporate governance. Number of topics on the European Union's policy agenda, setting the tone for current academic research. Of course, the transition to sustainable economy and recovery after the COVID crisis. Then, of course, duties and liabilities of board members. And, of course, always important digitalization of a company and internal processes therein. Let me say a few words on the duties and liabilities of board members fitting within this year's topic of the conference. According to the European Union Commission, the behavior of companies across all sectors of the economy is key to succeed in the Union's transition to a climate neutral and green economy, in line, of course, with the European Green Deal and in delivering the aims listed in the United Nations Agenda 2030 on the Sustainable Development Goals, of course, including the human rights and environment-related objectives. This requires, I would say, implementing comprehensive mitigation processes for tackling possibly adverse effects of the company's value chains on human rights and environment, integrating all the necessary factors, for example, sustainability into corporate governance and management systems, framing business decisions bearing in mind their impact on human rights, climate, and environment, as well as the company's resilience in the longer term. I would say these are such a huge obligation and burden on the companies. I would say you agree with me. European Union companies operate now more than ever in a complex socio-political and economic environment, and this would be especially for the large ones. They must rely on global value chains, given the significant number of their suppliers around the Union and, of course, in the third countries, and taking into concern the overall complexity of value chains. European companies may encounter difficulties in identifying and mitigating risks which are connected to their value chains, which arise out of the human rights and environmental concerns. For example, think about a German car producer having more than 120 facilities that build car components or complete vehicles. It procures material from roughly 8,500 first-tier suppliers. The question that crosses my mind is how will the car manufacturer meet said concerns? Will it perhaps need to cut the suppliers? The idea underlying the proposal for corporate sustainability due diligence directive being currently on the front burner is to identify these adverse impacts within value chains. It is argued that it will become easier if more companies exercise due diligence, making thus more data available on adverse effects of company processes on human rights and environment. The proposal for the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive has been called a game changer, having in mind the requirements placed upon the companies operating their business activities within the global value chain. It says, as I already set out, extensive sustainability due diligence requirements and introduces new corporate governance obligations for in-scope companies. Several European Union member states have already introduced national rules on due diligence in relation to human rights, including Germany's Lieferkettengesetz and Loi de Vigilance in France. In European Economic Area countries, for example, in Norway, due diligence over human rights is stipulated in the new Transparency Act, which entered into force on 1st July 2022. I must say, and from my perspective, there are good reasons for paying close attention to the scope and content of the proposal, which is already important at this stage. Firstly, there is a thematic relationship and partial, I would say, overlap with the already existing regulatory solutions in member states. Secondly, the proposal for the CSDD directive is closely related to previously adopted European Union regulations, such as the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, and of course, the European Union taxonomy. Disclosing ESG informations, we all know, enable companies to meet the interests of the stakeholders, investors, and to build business relations based on transparent, comparable, and substantive information. Pursuant to the proposal, member states have an obligation to introduce certain duties for members of the board of directors of the relevant companies. And of course, the member states shall impose a duty on the board members to adopt decisions in the company taking into account the consequences of their decisions for sustainability matters. And of course, member states shall ensure that members of the board of directors are held liable for breach of the said duties. The proposal will have in my opinion, wide-reaching consequences for board members, as their business judgment can no longer be exercised more or less freely. The proposal also implies a risk of excessive litigation against more board members. I really do hope that these 2 days of conference will be fruitful and give at least some answers to a number of questions that have come along with the complex European Union regulatory framework and related implementation challenges for the member states. Before I give floor to our Vice Dean for Business and Infrastructure, Professor Zoran Vitine, and to Mr. John Gasparets, Country Managing Partner, Territory Assurance Leader from PricewaterhouseCoopers Limited Liability Company Croatia, who is official sponsor of the conference, I would like to thank our home institution, Faculty of Economics and Business, of course, Mr. Matthias Schein on behalf of Faculty of Organization Informatics for technical support, our scientific sponsors, European Law Institute and European Law Institute Special Interest Group, Business and Financial Law, and European Law Institute Croatian Hub. Of course, there are also our sponsors, Croatian Chamber of Economy, International Chamber of Commerce Croatia, and as I said, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I would like to thank them for their highly appreciated and precious support in organizing this conference. Of course, I would like to express my gratitude to my associates. You already know them, Assistant Professor Zvonimir Šafranko, Dr. Christian Poljanec, and Assistant Professor Ivan Tot, for their assistance and support in organizing this conference. So thank you all so much. Professor Vitine, I will give you now the floor to greet our colleagues and friends on behalf of the Faculty of Economics and Business. Zoran, floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Horak. I believe you can all hear me, right? Yeah, you can. Okay. Well, dear members of the organizing committee, Professor Hanna Horak, Christian Poljanec, and Zvonimir Šafranko, esteemed keynote speakers, esteemed guests, as Professor Horak mentioned, the members of the Croatian Chamber of Commerce, International Chamber of Commerce, PricewaterhouseCoopers, scientific sponsors, dear guests. Let me express warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the Faculty of Economics and Business and the Dean's Office. It is my great honor to greet you and to welcome you all to the 5th International Conference on European Company Law and Corporate Governance. As you most probably read on the conference web pages, the Faculty of Economics and Business in Zagreb is the oldest institution of economic education, not only in Croatia, but also in the wider region. According to all relevant indicators, scientific relevance, scientific productivity, the scope and number of international research projects, the Faculty of Economics and Business in Zagreb is among the leading institutions in the region, which was also recognized by the relevant international accreditation institutions. The Faculty of Economics and Business since recently has been the holder of the most prestigious American and most prestigious European institutional accreditations, namely AACSB and EQUIS accreditations, which rank the Faculty of Economics in Zagreb among the 1% of the best business schools in the world. The Faculty of Economics and Business in Zagreb is the only higher education institution in Croatia and as well this part of Europe that managed to meet the very rigorous EQUIS criteria, and it was particularly praised in the area of the quality of our study programs, pedagogical methods, as well as the quality of scientific work, etc. Dear guests, we're happy to have you all here, and we are extremely grateful to the members of the organizing and program committee, which put a lot of effort in order for this conference to work and to become, as we can proudly now say, one of the traditional conferences of the Faculty of Economics and Business in Zagreb. We also hope there will be many more years to come and that this conference will grow and have even bigger number of participants. Without further ado, feel yourselves at home, although I know this is a kind of hybrid conference, but I can say that you're in good hands. You have the best hosts you can possibly have, and these are Professors Horak, Professor Šafranko, and Assistant Professor Poljanec. I wish you a fruitful conference and lots of success in your work. So that's all from me. Best regards and great success to all of you once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Vitine, for your kind words. And I would like to call Mr. John Matthias Gasparac, Country Managing Partner and Territory Assurance Leader from PricewaterhouseCoopers. So, John, please, floor is yours. Welcome. Thank you again for your support, as I previously said, and floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Pleasure to be here today, and I want to say we're very pleased to be a sponsor of this conference yet again, and continue our cooperation with the Economics Faculty of Zagreb and the Business School. We very much enjoy and appreciate that cooperation. Obviously, the conference is of interest to us because we think it's a topic that's extremely important, particularly in today's times. It's challenging times, and I won't spend much time talking about this, but I would like to say from our perspective that you know, we talk about frameworks, we talk about mechanisms around corporate governance in particular. There is, of course, corporate law, but when you look at what we have to deal with, and from our perspective, what we see, you know, it's also about mindset, culture, corporate culture, tone at the top. This is very important because you can have mechanisms and frameworks and controls in place with respect to corporate governance, but it's the people who actually execute it in the end for the most part. And these are very important aspects of governance, is the people you have in place. And what we've talked about a lot recently is that the members of boards, members of supervisory boards, of committees, and so on and so forth, These are not decisions that should be made lightly. These are decisions that are very important because these are supposed to be people with the values in place that will help execute and deliver the framework that's been proposed or that's been enacted. We believe that our purpose here as PwC really falls in line with this agenda, with the agenda of good business practice, transparency, and integrity. And to deliver something like this, the culture at the very top has to be in line with this. We've seen too many instances recently, not just now, but through COVID. There's been new opportunities for individuals and within corporations to take advantage of the changes that are occurring from digital transformation, hybrid working at home, other opportunities that have resulted in some damage to companies occurring, and this is all through a governance process that has not been ready for it, not been flexible, or did not foresee the changes that were happening. And within that transition, we saw some things that were not good for certain entities. And so this is why today I think it's very important to also keep that mindset and that attitude in mind as well. The fact that we have a large group of people listening today is very important, because I think we all embody a certain common value, a common approach towards this. But we have to be aware that there's many out there who still don't embody that approach and embody those values. And I've seen instances of even people speaking up and being in the end ridiculed for it, whereas they were actually trying to do the best thing they could for the company, so or the organization they work for. So this is, in light of this, I like to say it's also just important to keep that mindset and culture in mind. Apart from that, nothing else more to say. I just wish you guys a great conference, a very good one. I hope the next one will be in person. We've seen a lot of activity in the last couple of months. People want to be doing things in person, but nonetheless, it's still important to interact in this way as well. And I again thank you for the time, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, John, for your introductory notes. Thank you so much.